it finally happened. Camila Cabello's racist past is finally being brought to bear on her career. And Gina Rodriguez, who embarrassed me because I was such a fan. Shawn Mendes, Camila Cabello's boyfriend. Liam Neeson, Paula Deen, Juliana Rancic, Roseanne, Justin Trudeau, and Ralph Northam, of course. The list could go on and on and on, but let's just stop there. Basically, every single one of these public figures has been caught saying something nasty or degrading or racist about Black people, and it feels like a pattern, especially around younger pop stars like Camila and Shawn Mendes, that you think it's funny or cute to use the N-word with the hard R in reference to people. Sometimes you're talking about Black people and sometimes you're just using it to degrade as a slur. And a lot of people are shocked and hurt. Some of her fans or some of their fans are rushing to their defense to explain that they were just really young and that they don't feel that way anymore. And then other people on the other side are saying, well, it doesn't matter how young they were. I'm 16 and I've never used the N-word, or I've never been a racist person. But I actually think that we're not looking at this in as full of a picture as we could, because let's face it, racism is as American as apple pie. Having anti-Black thoughts and perspectives, laughing at those jokes, using the N-word when you know that you should not, that is nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with whether you're an ethnic minority or if you're white, or in the case of both of these people, if you're white, Latinx. It doesn't matter. Racism, or the structure of racism in the United States, creates a caste system in which whiteness, which is, of course, it's a fiction, it's an illusion, but it has very real impacts on all of us, is considered the best, and Blackness is considered the worst. And then you have lots of differentiation in between. There's also great theories about how other races are not necessarily higher in the hierarchy, they're just triangulated, specifically talking about Kim, who wrote about the racial triangulation of Asian Americans. And I'm sure there's other new theories about, you know, what it means to be a mixture of races, a multiracial America. But what we can all agree on is anti-Blackness is firm. You know, there are studies that are showing that more and more Asians and Latinx people are intermarrying, and I don't mean Black Latinx and Black Asian, but folks who are Asian, not of Black descent, and Latin, not of Black descent, are intermarrying at a higher rate than any other ethnic intermarriage group, especially Blacks and whites, right? Asians and whites have traditionally been the highest number of interracial couples, but that's now changing with the new generation. But still, Black people are the people the least likely to marry outside of their race, and anti-Black racism is a big reason that that is the case. There's so much hatred, there's so much confusion, there's so much fear and a desire to degrade Black people that there's a firm boundary constructed between Black people, Black culture, Black cultural products and their value and significance in society, material wealth and so on. There's just a firm boundary that's been constructed, and sometimes what we can see going beyond that boundary is racist jokes and racist comments. And in the case of Camila Cabello specifically, she was reposting a lot of, you know, racist jokes about Black people liking chicken, Black people liking watermelon. Ooh, so original, so funny, you know. But again, it's not unique to her. I think when people kind of frame it as Camila Cabello has a particular hatred for Black people, there's a lack of understanding that anti-Black racism is really normal. It's very, 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 very normalized. And that doesn't make it okay, and it doesn't excuse it. But the reason that so many people's past from their social media is catching up to them, and we're seeing that they have anti-Black thoughts and feelings, or think think anti-black jokes are funny is because it's really normal in our society to feel that way. I think that the context of racism and anti-black racism specifically, so it's the specific degradation and erasure and marginalization of black people, anything to do with blackness in the United States, it's an organizing feature of our society. It functions to tell us, you know, who is beautiful and who is smart and who is deserving and who is worthy and who isn't. And it's not surprising that cabello would participate in it when you understand it from that perspective. It isn't surprising at all. Again, it's not okay. And it's not even an excuse. It's using knowledge to understand why we shouldn't be surprised when we learn that these celebrities or people we look up to, people we really should stop putting on pedestals, myself included, because we don't know anything about what they think and what they feel and what jokes they're laughing at and what they're reposting on their Tumblrs. You know, it's not good. It's just providing context that explains that we shouldn't be surprised to learn that people are participating in these kinds of sort of everyday, daily reductions of black people. We really shouldn't. I actually think that our response should be an expectation of accountability rather than shock and awe that someone who we thought seemed like a nice person could be so cruel. Particularly because I do think in the case of being a child, children can be very cruel, and unfortunately we don't live in a society where we teach children to be anti-racist. If anything, we're teaching children to be colorblind by and large, to tell them race doesn't matter and don't look at color. But what happens when you live in a world that's the opposite of colorblind, especially now? Race has a high meaning in everyone's life, regardless of if they admit it or not. What happens is that children kind of go with the flow, which is that they say things like, I'm not racist, or I don't see color, and they laugh at racist jokes, or they make racist jokes, or they think they can use the N-word because, you know, their favorite rappers do in songs, or, you know, their friends do, or whatever. So it's definitely a cultural thing. Maybe I'm wrong, you know, maybe Camila Cabello does have a specific hatred for black people and black women and so forth, but I truly think that she's just one example, a drop in the bucket of all of these anti-black things that we see coming out. I don't think these people are specifically and particularly racist. Maybe Roseanne would be an exception to that. I think they're swimming in these waters that are anti-black. I think accountability is important as a next step because there are a lot of people who are fans of hers. I'm a Normani fan myself. I think that Camila Cabello for me represents how being young, white, thin, and conventionally attractive allows you to be, you know, a little bit mediocre. I think that there are many pop stars who are young, white, thin, and conventionally attractive who can hold a tune. They can hold a note. The girl can hold a note. I've listened, okay? But I don't think that the standards for them are quite as high. I think that someone like Normani, who's shown us she's a spectacular talent, particularly in the realm of her performance, and also, you know, she has a really great understanding of aesthetics. Normani is really good at creating or producing cultural products that we love, especially people of color, especially black people, especially black women. But, you know, regardless of comparison, although obviously we also know Camila was calling her own group member the N-word, the accountability that we should expect from these people if we are still fans of them, because to be perfectly frank with you, it's so common. This stuff happens so often that I understand if you are a black person and you are like a stan, feeling conflicted and not knowing what to do. If you don't believe in canceling people like I don't believe in canceling people, it's against my value system. I think that we need to do a lot better job of creating a public accountability system where we actually allow them to make amends for what they've done and move on. We don't have a model for that. We don't know how to do that. We know how to punish people. We know how to lock them up, throw away the key, and even if we let them out, we are watching them. We are constantly pointing our fingers in their faces and treating them like shit. I think we're really good at labeling people and letting that label become who they are. no matter what they do. And I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I don't think we should be running up to try to hold hands, you know, with every person who hates us, or trying to support people who hates us, or people whose values don't align with our own. But for me personally, I have no interest in trying to punish Camila Cabello. I'm gonna probably continue to do what I've been doing, which is not listening to her music, because I've just never been a fan. But I think that what we can reasonably expect from these people who we admire, when they falter, when they reveal to us that they have problematic perspectives, but common perspectives. Again, anti-blackness is common. So for me, that would be like Gina Rodriguez. They need to sincerely apologize, and they need to apologize to the people who they've hurt. When it comes to Gina Rodriguez's apology that she put on her Instagram, saying she was sincerely sorry and she needed to do all this self-work, and you know, I thought that was good, but she wrote community of color rather than saying, you know, to the Black community, I should not have used the N-word. Something like that demonstrates that you understand what you've done to hurt people. So I think that's a start. Specific apologies, not saying, you know, when I was younger I did something I'm so ashamed of and I can't believe I did that and I'm so sorry. We need to be naming the things that we've done to start with. I also think that particularly for public figures, it would be nice for them publicly to try to show us what they're doing, to demonstrate that they're people who want to learn and want to unlearn what they've done. I think what Chelsea Handler did with her documentary was really great for white people, because it was her going through a process of trying to learn, what is it about being white that gives me privilege? Why did I not understand it? How did it affect me and my teenage boyfriend, my Black boyfriend who was in prison? How did racism affect our lives differently? How did white privilege affect me? I think public conversations are great. I think donating to organizations and supporting organizations that do racial justice work is great. Those are all places to start, you know, but it's so much more than saying vaguely, I'm very ashamed and I apologize, I'm going to do better. It takes more than that. Now, I know that there's a lot of y'all that say, whatever, you know, if you're that kind of person, I'm done with you forever, and that's fine. That's fine. But for me, it's not realistic, because first of all, we know people don't get canceled anyway, okay? It usually doesn't happen. Even R. Kelly's commissary is gonna be good for life. But for me, it's about how can we do something constructive with the harm that's been done? How do we mitigate the harm? How do we reduce the harm? People who have hurt the Black community need to understand that there are so many children, Black children, who deeply admire and love them, and it's very painful to them. They need to offer sincere condolences to those people. You know, we need to see that you understand why people are hurt and that you're going to do something about it in the future. That's what we need. We need more people who are committed to undoing the harms of anti-Black racism. And that's why I really liked the Chelsea Handler documentary. I think any strides that people are taking that are sincere, that are humble, to unlearn all of this anti-Black racism in our society is good, because nobody is perfect. So for me, you know, I can't hold people to standards that I don't hold myself to. That is my feeling about the Camila Cabello racist post thing, and I would love to hear some very thoughtful comments, not hate stuff and all that whatever. Like, I've got it, trust me, I've seen a lot of videos, I've watched other people's thoughts on this, and I thought that the anti-Blackness perspective was missing. We need to learn more about this racist system that we're living in every single day. We need to learn more about it. I would recommend, as a starting place, How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi, which came out a couple of months ago. That's an excellent place to start for people who have no idea what all this anti-Black racism stuff really is. And I think it's good for, you know, if you're a Black person, white person, brown, whatever your racial background, that's a great place to start. So let me know, what did you think? Do you feel like, you know, anti-Black racism is something that is really, really common throughout society, or do you find that it's something that's more rare? I would love to know your thoughts and feelings. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.
To love. Love is a condition so powerful. It may be firmament.
That's what I feel in my heart.